So Microsoft just officially announced, this is something that we knew was coming, but it's just crazy actually seeing this right in front of me, that Gears of War Reloaded, which is another remaster of Gears of War 1, which is another thing that I'm going to talk about later in the video, I find very interesting. But Gears of War is now officially coming to PlayStation 5. For the first time, a Gears of War game is going to be available on a PlayStation console this August. Gears of War Reloaded. And there's a lot to be said about this. One is a lot of questions regarding the value and importance of the Xbox brand when they just give away all their first-party titles on all other platforms these days. I understand they have a greater strategy now as it relates to services and subscriptions. Game Pass is where they see their future, not necessarily in the hardware and the individual game sales. However, that being said, it's still just surreal. Being someone who grew up, a lot of people I know grew up during the Super Nintendo Genesis era. That was the big console war of their lifetime. But for me, it was the PlayStation 3 versus Xbox 360. That's when I came up. So to see this is just a whole wide range of emotions going through my head right now that I don't even know how to feel about this. I was never really much of a Gears of War fan, admittedly, so it doesn't have nearly as much of an impact as it may for other people, but it is a cool thing, especially if you like Gears of War 1 and the multiplayer of that game. It has full cross-play support across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and cross-progression as well, so that's very exciting, because even though the Ultimate Edition exists, the 2016 remaster, the multiplayer community is not very active, especially on PC. There really isn't a whole lot going on there, and even on Xbox, there isn't a very active community. So this can bring this game back to life when it comes to the multiplayer portion of the game. And if you already owned the Ultimate Edition prior to the announcement today, you actually get Gears of War Reloaded as a free upgrade, which is that definitely deserves a lot of praise. But if you don't, then it's $40, but it's also available on Game Pass Ultimate if you're a subscriber of that service. It definitely does still devalue the console itself at a time when they're raising the prices significantly for their hardware. I just made a video talking about that. $100 more expensive overnight. I know tariffs and other stuff played a role in that, but still, you're doing that while also giving people less of a reason to own your console is certainly a choice, I'll say that. Whether or not it's the wrong or the right choice, I'll leave it up to you guys to debate that in the comment section. Especially when Sony is not doing the same thing from Microsoft, so if you're just a console gamer, from a console gamer's perspective, it is a clear choice which console is worth buying more between PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation has actual games that you can't play on Xbox, while Xbox can't say the same thing. They put all their games on PlayStation, while they get absolutely nothing in return. So, it's definitely going to make the console market even more monopolistic and more lopsided than it already has been over the past decade plus, where Sony's just been dominating the landscape. I mean, Nintendo's obviously there too, but they're kind of in their own ecosystem due to the differences in hardware. All the big AAA games are not going to come out on Nintendo consoles as frequently, and Nintendo relies a lot more on their own first-party titles compared to the PlayStation, where you have a mix of first-party and third-party games. But that being said, while the remaster looks okay, it doesn't look groundbreaking, based on the screenshots that they provided in their blog post. I think it's kind of disappointing that they decide to do a remaster of a remaster rather than remastering the games in the series that have yet to be remastered, including Gears of War 2, 3, and even Gears of War Judgment, or, you could even talk about Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5. These are games that can use a fresh coat of paint and be reintroduced to the new generation of gamers. But obviously, if you're going to start somewhere, you're going to start with the first game. But I think really it's more so okay, you're charging $40 for one game, for the first Gears of War game, that is essentially, even though it's a remaster, it's not a remake, so it really is, at its core, a 20-year-old game. This isn't an Oblivion remastered situation where they redo so much of the assets from the ground up. That's not what this appears to be. So you're charging $40 for that, which I'm not necessarily going to argue is a horrible price, especially for a PlayStation gamer that has never experienced Gears of War before. It might be worth it, and then obviously if you have Game Pass, it doesn't matter. But I think, if you look back to 10 years ago, where we got the MCC for $60, and it was 5 Halo games, including the single player and the multiplayer. Now, 10 years later, you're just doing one game instead of doing an MCC-style collection where it includes the entire, like, the original trilogy. I mean, Judgment, people may not be too upset if that's not included, but yeah, even Gears of War 4 and Gears of War 5, like, include, like, the entire series in it prior to the release of Gears of War E-Day, you know? So that was kind of a bummer that they're only, like, it just feels like a regression. 10 years later, they're going way backwards compared to what it was. And I understand, obviously, all the things that happened with the MCC, that it was a technological challenge, to say the least. That's why the game was broken and unplayable for many years before they finally fixed it. So I'm sure all that was considered, and it's good that the multiplayer is at least part of it, because a new trend that I've been seeing that I haven't been enjoying very much with remasters in particular is that they'll remaster the campaign and not include the multiplayer at all. Red Dead Redemption for PC was a great example of that, and multiplayer for that game was fantastic, so leaving that out, it's not the definitive version of the game. The 360 version still is. So, yeah, I don't know what to think of all that. But it is good that at least we have multiplayer for this, and it's cross-play, cross-progression, and PlayStation gamers are finally getting Gears of War, and I'm sure Halo's going to be coming soon. I'm sure the MCC, if not next year, then maybe 2027, is going to be out on PlayStation 5, without a doubt at this point. It's just inevitable that every single first-party Microsoft game is going to be on PlayStation. It's just, there's no way around that. So if you're an Xbox fanboy, and you talk about how great the Xbox is, it hasn't been a tougher time than right now to justify all that fanboy shit when the console's going up significantly in price. There really is no value in the actual console itself anymore. I guess you could call yourself a Game Pass fanboy, but an actual Xbox console fanboy, it really is hard to be that anymore in 2025. Phil Spencer gives you less and less reason to be an Xbox fan every single day now. So, yeah. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this news. I don't think it really comes as a surprise to anybody. There have been a little bit of rumors and leaks, I guess, that have been kind of indicating this was going to happen. But now it's finally official, and it is definitely significant. And we'll see what this means for the future of the Xbox brand going forward.